you need to know what's out there. What are the exposures that your teenagers or your preteens are getting right now, so that you can have those conversations, because it's happening no matter what you do, what you say.
How would you kind of deregulate the shame that's kind of, surrounds this topic for both the parents and the children?
Whether you want to believe your kid is having it or not having it, the point is you still need to have those discussions about it.
Can you please introduce yourself and what exactly you do here in Las Vegas?
So I'm Dr. Kas-Osoka. I am currently the only practicing adolescent medicine physician here in Las Vegas. I work for the UNLV School of Medicine. With the transition from UNR to UNLV, it's only been a couple of years, but I've worked out here for the last 5 years.
Great. What are the trends that you're seeing among young people these days?
I think some of the biggest ones are just the influence of social media, the influence of technology, and how it affects people differently. I think you have kind of a span of teens on one end that are very affected by it. Everything that happens on social media really presents a lot of challenges for them internally. And you have some on the other end who are just like, I know social media exists, and some things I listen to, some things I don't, and they're able to kind of piece through what's good for them, what's bad for them, what they take with it. And I think that just varies, I never know like which spectrum of I'm going to get when they walk into the room, but I'm always engaged by the fact that they are just different, each one that walks through the room, But I think, in terms of sex and just how it influences each of them, I do think that social media, technology, their exposures have increased over the years. They've always been in existence. I just think access becomes a little bit easier over time. And I think that some of my patients who are walking in are becoming sexually active earlier than they would have, 10 years ago, maybe. But right now, I think that it's all about, what kind of influences are they having outside of that social media, outside of that tech, that are teaching them, healthy relationships, how to take care of themselves first before they're engaging with someone else. So I think that's where the emphasis needs to be, rather than there's things about social media, there's things about technologies, there's things about exposures that we're never going to be able to control. So we have to look outside of that, like what else are these kids getting, are seeing.
Absolutely. So a few things there. What is the typical age that you're seeing now that kids are engaging in sex? And not just sex, like masturbation or even watching porn, because like you said, they are having that access to the internet earlier these days. So what are the typical averages that you're seeing?
I think it's definitely going to vary, but I see kids from 12 and up for the most part in my practice. So most of my 12-year-olds are not having sex. Do they masturbate? Probably so. A lot of them are more embarrassed to talk about it than anything. I try to ask questions about it, but some of them, they're just not ready to open it up. So I think a lot of people are not going to talk about it, but do I think at 12 they're probably masturbating? Yes, because they're trying to figure out I noticed this feels good, and is that okay, not okay, and parents are going to see that. Sometimes they're going to walk in on it too, and needing to understand how to have that discussion with your kids is crucial. But I would definitely say my early mid high schoolers are definitely, most of them I would say have tried it once, twice, maybe. But I don't think the majority of them at that age are entirely engaged in it, meaning having sex every day or weekly or anything like that. But there's kids out there that are doing that, and so my goal on the flip side is to protect them as much as possible, because at the end of the day, it is a natural thing to do. It is natural to have sex. So, scolding them, punishing them, that doesn't get you anywhere, truthfully. It's really teaching them, like, how do you make sure you're taking care of yourself? What is a healthy relationship? What's okay in a relationship? What's not okay in a relationship? Those kind of pieces are more crucial, regardless of whether or not they're having sex or not having sex.
Awesome. There was just so much there. I was like, okay, wait. What did I want to ask for what you said? So, okay, so it's very natural, like you said, for kids to have, or sex is very natural, right? Mm-hmm. And kids are naturally curious. Mm-hmm. So what is that connection? So why is sex even that more alluring to young people? And yeah.
I don't think it's even that it's more alluring to young people. Okay. I just think that it's a natural progression of life. Like, you explore things, you realize, like, hey, this feels good when I do this. And understanding, I think it's very important to understand your own body, because you can't go into a mutual relationship, a mutual decision to have sex, and you aren't also getting something out of that mutual relationship. So you understanding yourself is going to impact how well you do when you're going into, a sexual relationship with someone else. So I do think that is just natural progression. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I don't think that we should be scolding or punishing our kids for wanting to explore that. I think it's discussing. I think it's having those challenging conversations with them to say, you know what, like, I know that you probably might think this person is attractive, but, we really need to focus on the fact, like, what do you love about yourself? Like, what makes you feel good? Like, how do you take care of yourself? Because if you don't do any of those things, you end up going into a relationship on the bad end, because you're not comfortable with yourself. You don't have high self-esteem. You don't know what you deserve and what you don't deserve. And you walk into these relationships and then realize, like, I'm just doing what they want. I'm not doing what is making me happy as well. So.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And so how do you help? I mean, what do you suggest for parents to have these discussions with their children? And at what age should they start having discussions about sex, or even, sexual health, getting to know their bodies and, how the feelings, the sensations that come up? What do you suggest?
I think, every kid is going to be a little bit different. Now, at different ages, kids are going to masturbate. So I think if at any point in time you catch your kid doing that, you need to start having those discussions right away. What's okay, what you can't do in public, where this is okay. All of those conversations need to happen at that point in time. I think as they're growing up, you should always be talking about, like, their own self-esteem, loving themselves, what that looks like what, how to make yourself feel good at the end of the day, and pointing out to them the things that, did you like it when this happened? Did that make you feel happy, sad, understanding those emotions around stuff, because I think that's, emotional intelligence in general is very, very important. And I think if you don't start at an early age, you lose that, and you go into these relationships without having that and not understanding how to connect the two, and understanding why it's important for you to be happy as well as your partner to be happy. It's not just one-sided,
Absolutely. But with the, onset of technology and social media, it's so much more challenging these days for young people to be rooted in their self-worth and self-esteem, because, what they're seeing, that so-and-so is getting all these likes, looking, provocatively, or, just posing in a certain way, and, just putting certain types of pictures and information out there. Wouldn't you say, it's just hard, I think, growing up these days as a child.
It is challenging.